Banami Kudal Banami Yazain Bakshayan Dain Bakshay Yazgar Meherbain Shnot Rauri Mazdao Nimasati Atash Mazdao Udal Mazishtain Yazata Shimbo Vaishtamastim Shasti Ushtam Mayet Shai Vishtai Shim Banami Yazdano Ramazdakudaya Vazani Gurze Korea Vazayain Atash Dadgadar Farazamaguna Patit Pashemanum Azahar Vasting Dushmatta Rizukta Rizvarashtamim Pageti Manid I am Goft, I am Kad, I am Just, I am Bunbudas, Sarazan Guna Manashni Gavashni Kunashni Tani Ravani Yeti Minawani Okea Vaksh Pashimain Pase Gavashni Papatit Home Usma Yuzarish Vaurami Tite Vishim Dasvas Penishtamini Mazdavanguya Zavataing Asha is Madhomananga Facilitum Rafidrai Rushashani Doshimoin Yave Avitra Tashatraya Uraya Ungishishmanango First Pentar Mighty Asharini of Production Yaim Advertime the Krishnan Mercy Kakeosh the Lady Porota Manangas Kavan Yushmas Dai Shot and Aya Shanya Chokrakya Cham Sarushim Shakrim Cham Shnot Rauri Mazdawni Messati Atish Mazdawri Dao Mazishtan Yazeta Shimvo Veshtamastim Stasti Ustam Mayet Shai Veshtai Shim Hashimvo Veshtamastim Stasti Ustam Mayet Shai Veshtai Shim Hashimvo Veshtamastim Stasti Ustam Mayet Shai Veshtai Shim Pravarani Mazdayas Nozar Tushtrish Vide Vaurata Kesho Havani Shoni Shirat Vayas Naichavam Maichash Not Raicha Prasestin Yachem Savangavis Yaicha Shoni Shirat Vayas Naichavam Maichash Not Raicha Prasestin Yachem Atro Remus Daputra Davatash Putra Remus Davatro Remus Daputrem Karinango Savangam is the Dharta Herianam Karinam is Datanam Kavyacha Karinangam is the Dharta Heatro Remus Daputrem Kavoi Shasravanga Varoi Shasravangas Namenta Garoish Mazdata Hen Chaichishtavaroish Mazdata Hen Kavya Chakaranangam Mazdata Hem Athrorim Mazdaputrem Ravante Garoish Mazdata Hen Kavya Chakaranangam Mazdata Athrorim Mazdaputrem Atash Spentara Kishtaran Yazapur Karananga Yazapur Veshaza Athrorim Mazdaputrem Matavispai Viatrai Vishatrana Fedruneria Sangahin Yazatahesh Not Rayas Naichavam Maichash Not Raichavra Sesting Anchem Yatahu Verio Zota from Maruta Yatarito Shanchi the Chapara Shava with Valmarutu. Yes, name Chavam Mim Chahuberetim Choshta Beretim Chavan Taberetim Chafrina Mikavatash with Raurimus down. Yes, Niahivam, yes, Nebuyavam Yanamanam Shekana Mushtebam Mine Rim. Yes, it Wabada flies a test Mazasta Baris Mazasta Gazastum. Havanazasta Daites Nebuya Daitebodi Buyam. Daitya Pitviya Daitya Pasanabia Perenation Tribuyadam Mayushra Tribiatash Putraurim is down. Sauchabiyaminamane, Sauchabiyaminamane, Rauchahibuyaminamane, Upshatabuyaminamane, Delegim Chetakis Ravani, Pasuram Prashakiratim, the Suli Yamunguya Prashakiratoin. There are Matash Putraurim is down, Asu Katrimasu, Tritimasu Jitim, Poro Katram, Poro, Tritim, Poro Jitim, Mastim Sapano, Kashvibram, his Vamurano Shikratum Paschatamasitam Azontim, Apayatram Neriam Paschaita Hamveritim. Red was on Gamak Faniam, Trishamashnam Chashapnam Jas, Katam Jagarum Petrushaim, Asnam Fazintim Karsharazam, Yakanam Hamradama, Mazabajim Havirami Amefarat Namanim Chab, Visim Chazantum Chadakim Chadangus Astim Chadayam Yatish Putorim is down. Yamanga the Prasangarim Sochatai Vahishtem Show Naim Rauchangim, Vispok Hakrim, Zezebi Vangauchim is Devangauchas Ravai, Urnacha Devangavanga, Vispabius Astim, Baraiti Atashmas Daurabium Pascheta Shafnim Jasurim Cham. Vispabi Hacha is Jato Beretim Chosh, Beretim Chavanta Beretim Chaspika Mine. Vispanam Paracharin Tamatus, Zastadi Diachimakashi Bati Pracharet Varmai Shayatrim, Spintim is my name, Takmim Huntim, Ratesh Tari Mati Zishem Beretta Besma, Vanatamadam, Apaschet Penati Atashmas Daurim, Kashnut Tadbishta Hadangum. Upatva Shell Givish Matwapa, Verenam Paruta, Sapatva, Verizvachamano, Verizvati Cham, Hakshoy Danguya or Vakshanguya, Gejage Shout, Al Shapano, Yao Javai Matatra, Frivanim, Yom Maikus Roches, Perishta, Shebereja, Yos Datai. Yatahu Verion Taritus Shanti the Chavam Gavish is Ramaningo, Shartan and Imam Gavish Mizdaim. Shatrim Chaurayim, the Leg of Yoda Mastari, Mitahu, Verio Tari, the Shashi, the Chavam Gavish is Ramaningo, Shartan and Imam Gavish Mizdaim. Shatrim Chaurayim, the Leg of Yoda Mastarim. Yes, name Chavam, Mim Chow, just says a very Chafrina, Miatro, Rimasda, Putra, the Vatash, Putra, Rimasda. Atro Rimasda, Putra, Karinango, Savangam is the Data Herianam, Karnamas Datanam, Kavia, Chakaranangam is the Data Him. Atro Rimasda, Putra. Raivante garoishmazdatahe kavyecha karnangamzdatahe athrorimazdaputra Atesh spenderatish-taringizdaporofedangizdaporobeshazathrorimazdaputram Matavispaibiakraivyashatruna fedruneriosangahiyazatahim Ashim vo vaishtamastim shtasti ushtam mayeta shaiva ishtain Ashim vo vaishtamastim shtasti ushtam mayeta shaiva ishtain Ashim vo vaishtamastim shtasti ushtam mayeta shaiva ishtain Attoin yatrim auraj gavantem ashosem aishishtim amaventem startentem chitravangimat mazarabishentem Zashtai ishtai shdarishtai nangimashim vahu vaishtamastim shtasti ushtam mayim Yetashai vaishtai yashim Ammaidascha karenascha maitan vodravatatim maitan vovizdavarim maitan voviretrem Ammaishidim polukatram ammayasnam chitrazatim ammaidare gamdare gojitim ammavaishtem omshonam rachingim spokhatrim Atai jamya yatha prinam yashim voviishtem stim shtasti ushtam mayetashai vaishtai yashim Hazangarim Besijanam Baivare Besijanam Hazangarim Besijanam Baivare Besijanam Hazangarim Besijanam Baivare Besijanam Shimvo Vaishtam Stim Shtasti Ushtam Mayetashai Vaishtai Shim Jasami Avange Mazda Jasami Avange Mazda Jasmi Avange Mazda Milkashte Urabhe Veritagna Urabhem Venantial Shapar Kataram Nukastravim Shapar Aviadra Dhatrinyesh Dharman Ayatatte Vaiyate Asti Spentaminium Tavashe Kudate Zavani Akarne Zavani Darego Kudate Heshim Vahu Vaishtem Stim Shtasti Ushtam Mai Yetashai Vaishtai Yashim Kerfe Muzdaguna Vizarish Narakunama Shairavan Dishamraham Kerfe Hama Vihani Aptakishwar Zamin Penam Ruddarana Kwashit Bala Bundian Beresai Ashobedeziyata Jamyan Yatafrinami Yashim Vahu Vaishtem Stim Shtasti Ushtam Mai Yetashai Vaishtai Yashim Roz Neknam Roz Paknam Roz Mubarak Dekmer Dadar Mahi Mubarak Adar Yazad Gahi Havin Namazadari Gendamain Shnotrauri Mazdao Nimasati Atush Mazdauri Udal Mazishtin Yazata Shim Vahu Vaishtai Masti Ushtasti Ushtam Mai Yetashai Vaishtai Yashim Guze Pareva Zanyai Datish Dadgada Paraim Adaran Shapiros Garada Gushaspada Kodarada Buzin Mehera Variada Natashan Gipadat Ganishastes Guze Kareva Zanyain Mino Karkamavan the Piros Garamavan the Piros Guide Adin Be Mazna Yasnain Agahi Ravai Gofringani Bada Fakishwar Zamin Aiden Bain Manano Avayan Shiden Manano Avayan Shiden Manano Avayan Shiden Ashon Yashimbo Vishtamas Nishta Mai the Shaiva Ishtai Shim Dadari behind the name of the Yasni Dada Zartush, the name of Sata Sham Savestare, Drisura, Nita Shawn Yashim Bahum, Vahishtem Steam Stars, Yushtam, Maya the Shai Vashta Yashim, Nemo Vaira Vanglim was the dark being shown Yashim, Vahishtem Steam Stars, Yushtam, Maya, yet a Shai Vashta Yashim, Shnot Taurim is thou, Nimasati Atesh Mazdau, Dal Mazishtan Yazatai, Ashim Vahu Vahishtem Steam Stars, Yushtam, Maya. Yetashai Vaishtai Yashim Baname Kudai, Baname Yazain, Bakshayin Dahin, Bakshayin Yazgar Meherbain Yazdain Dadgar Dadar Yakahu Venyo Dehe Ashim Vahu Sain Pravaraning Dahi Havin Shnumin Damain Pravash Yezad Ahuramazdami Shaspendain Beresain Gurze Korea Vazanyari Shnu Haine Dadar Ahuramazda Kodain Beresain Nirang Piruz Gerbain Korea Vized Name Mazda Yasni Ravabain Under Hafta Kishwar Nain Chesti Hatarinder Kambain Hasta Sherestein, under Manchester Sherestein, Purim Pirozi, Shadi Ramashni Rabain. Karain Kojestein of Izun, Bad of Izun, Karbain, Karain Kojestein, Baharin Shnu, my name. Dadai Rahurai Mazda Kodain Beresain. Kirai Garuzai Shaheriarin Keshiazashne, Karbe Home Darun Yashtahom Yazdamarainaim. Payo Kalden Yalpa Ganzain Dada Rahura Mazdain Rayo Men Karim and the Bami Shaspindain Beresain Auj was the whole Niru Tagiyama Vandin Firoz Garin Shnu my name Dadai Rahure Mazda Kodain Beresain. I Samai Padi Raftarin Bade Mara Panahi Kirdai Niki and Doctor Nai Patia Duravas Dashtai. I Afte Kwabain Kirai Digar Miazdaim Hazaro Murder Miazdar Saim Sakte Mara Kamera Zantair. Asain Tairaini Kardayat is my Hazar Padi Raftarin Bahain. Nine Chesti Jinde Ravain Farmayishne Hamain Jumen Mazdayasni Beresain. Nine Chesti Anushain Ravain Ravanin Asho Zarathustra Spitamain Asho Faroharain Dariyad Bahain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Havobi Zarathustra in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Urvatatna Zarathustra in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Koshain Cheher Zarathustra in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Spendyar Gushtas Pashaha in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Kitayan Gushtas Pashaha in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Gushtas Pashaha Luras Pashaha in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Yazde Gardan Shahriyar in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Ader Baid Maris Pend in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Ardain Vihai Pardain Pravash in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Mubet Shapur Mubet Sheriyar in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Mubet Hormazdiyar Erved Ramiyar in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Dastur Meherji Erved Vatsha in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Dastur Jamshain Erved Surab in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Dastur Azar Kaivain Bin Dastur Adar Dushaspa in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Bedin Homa Bedin Jamshain in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Bedin Jiji Bhoin Bedin Dada Bhoin in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Bedin Zarin Bedin Sapal in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Bedin Jal Bedin Rustaim in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Bedin Firoz Bedin Barjor in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Bedin Kersim Bedin Rustaim in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Bedin Barjor Bedin Jal in Dariyad Bain. Anushain Ravain Ravani Hamasho Ruvain Hamayasho Parohar in Dariyad Bain. Nine Chestin Jinde Ravain Farmayishne Hamain Jumen Mazdayasni Beresain. Hamain Fravashi Shoainio Kardayam Chaharaim Dahim Siroza Sahal Roses Gayor Maiden Dang Soshio Saindariyan Bahain. Hastane Budang Bedain Zadani Zadain Adayus Daidaminer Nari Kavarnai Purnain. Harke Avarin Zamin Pairing Vedini Gudarain Shud Hastai. Hamain Fravashi Shoain. Hamayo Kardaya Azagayor Maiden Dang Soshio Saindariyan Bahain. Kein mein Wisso sein Derostein Gujaste hen. Hamain Fravashi Shoain. Hamayo Kardaya Azagayor Maiden Dang Soshios Aindariyad Bain. Ashavain Fravashi Rain Fravash Aver Vizain Fravash Piroz Garain Fravash Porio Takeshain Fravash Nambanas Dishtain Fravashi Fravashio Hamayo Kardaya Azagayor Maiden Dang Soshios Aindariyad Bain. Ravani Pederain Maderain Zindegain Niaigain Ferzendain Paivendain Parastarain Nambain Dishtain Fravash Shoain Hamayo Kardeo, Azagior Maidendal, Soshio, Saindarian Boy. Hamaya Tornine, Maratish, Tarine, Mavastrio Shine, Hamahutok Shine. Hamain Pravashia Showine, Hamayo Kardeo, Azagior Maid, Andal, Soshio, Saindarian Boy. Hamain Pravashia Showine, Hafta Kishvar Zamin, Areze Savein Freda Daim Shvida Daim Shvorum Barin Shvorum Zarish, Kanarasa Bami Kangadhez Showine, Varezam Kardain, Ganja Matarain, Main Pravashia Showine, Hamayo Kardeo, Aze Gayor Maid, Andal Soshio Saindarian Bain. Gurzain Kore Avazayan, Inshnu Maine, Dadai Rahure Mazda Kodai, Beresain. Naim Chastin, Jinde Ravain, Farmayashne, Hamay Anjumen, Mazdayasni, Beresain. Ham Kerfe Hamavihane, Hafta Kishvar Zamin, Beresain. Kirai Garuzay Sheheriari, Kish Piruzgar Bahain. Yata, Yata, the Shanti, the Chavange, which is Damango, Shatan, Amange, which was dying. Shatrim Chawrayan, him the Leg of Yor, the Vastari, Kavavi, and Tara, the Shanti, the Chavange, which is Damango, Shatan, Amange, which was die, Shatrim Chawrayan, him the Leg of Yor, the Vastarim. Yatahu Venya Tara to Jashan, the Chavange, which is Damaningo, Shatan and Namange, which was Dashatim, Chawrayan, the Leg of Yor, the Vastarim. Yatahu Venya Tara to Jashan, the Chavange, which is Damaningo, Shatan and Namange, which was dying. Shatrim Chawrayan, him the Leg of Yor, the Vastarim, Yatahu Venya Tara to Ashachi, the Chavange, which is Damaningo, Shatan and Namange, which was dying. Shatrim Chawrayan, him the Leg of Yor, the Vastarim, Yatahu Venya Tara to Jashan, the Chavange, which is Damaningo. Shatan Namange, which was Nashatin Chawrayan, the Leg of Yor, the Vastarim. Yatahu Venya Tara to Jashanti, the Chavange, which is Damaningo, Shatan Namange, which was dying. Shatrim Chawrayan, him the Leg of Yor, the Vastarim, Yatahu Venya Tara to Jashanti, the Chaim. Mange, which is Damaningo, Shatan Namange, which was Dashatrim Chawrayan, the Leg of Yor, the Vastarim. Yatahu Venya Tara to Jashanti, the Chavange, which is Damaningo, Shatan Namange, which was dying. Shatrim Chawrayan, him the Leg of Yor, the Vastarim. Yatahu Venya Tara to Jashanti, the Chavange, which is Damaningo, Shatan and Naim. Ange, which was dying, Shatrim Chawrayan, him the Leg of Yor, the Vastarim. Hashim Vahu Vahishtem, Astim Shta Mai, Yet a Shai Vahishtai Yashim. Hashim Vahu Vahishtem, Astim Shta Mai, Yet a Shai Vahishtai Yashim. Hashim Vahu Vahishtem, Astim Shta Mai, Yet a Shai Vahishtai Yashim. Favarani Mazdeis Nozar Tushtish Videva Uratakisho, Havani Shani Shirat Veas Nancha, Manchash not Vancha, Assisting Chain. Savan gave Yancha Shani Shirat Veas Nancha, Manchash not Vancha, Assisting Chain. Ahure Mazdao, Raivato, Karinangato, Shnot Rayas Nancha, Mancha, Shnot Vancha, Assisting Chain. Yatahu Venios out of Rami Marute, Yataru Shashanchi, Hachafarasha, Vidva Marutu. Ahurim Mazdam Raventim Karnanganting is made Amisha Spentau Shatodam is made dame. A Shaunine Vanguvish Sirao Spentau Pravashia is made dame. Tau Minamani Jamiarish Yao Shonam Shnutas Shashin Shavadisha Paitis and Playas Choshnongain, Visajam Yadashim Chashatrimcha Savascha Karinascha Katrimcha Revagofat Matrimcha, Angarim Yayatahuroish Zatushtroish, Assishtanangada Chavisan Gaush Buyain. Assistem Hashem, assistem Nashashana Oja, assista Orishta Kisham, Jamianitra Shana, Munguis Raus Pentau Pravashiam, Ashoish Besa Jatim Nozim, Pratangaram, Rejangal, Verizangish, Ivanganganam, Paitish Tati Atarinam, Prashavak Shari, Amcha Karinan Gamcha, Vainitamina Sarosha Shutim, Akashtish, Akashtim, Raitish, Araitish, Armaitish, Taromaitim, Shukadavakshimit Haktim, Vachima Shadrujim Yamish, Aspenta Saroshadan Shiada, Paitish and Vanguhush. Yasnas Chavam Mas Chava, who is named Chavam Mincho, Veredin Josh Taberedin Chem, Vanta Veredin Chadere, Gakabri, Maya Vetnamanim, Katravet, Karna Praja, Makatravetish, Tish Makatravetiasna Presentish. Khatwe de Sevet Yeshai Shavang Guyadegem Hakmain, Hashem Vovish the Muslim Stars Vishtam, Maya the Shaveshtai, Hashem Vovish the Muslim Stars Vishtam, Maya the Shaveshtai, Hashem Vovish the Muslim Stars Vishtam, Maya the Shaveshtai, Hashem. Afrina Mishatran Gupai, you Kramer, Paravet, Shatrim, Javai, Stim, Darego Shatrim, Shatran, Darego, Jitim, Dravatatim, Canubio, Ame Mutash, Timurod, Veretagnim, Modatim, and Tim Chopatatim, Podus, Pachtim, the Bishan time. Fight ejecting Dishman Unime, Artanevite Mameritan, Marutanam, the Bishan time, Afrina, Vavan, and Fish, and the Vispamaritan, the Bishan thing, Vispe Malgim, the Bishan thing, Aratvio Manangame, Aratvio, Vichan game, Aratvio Sharkamin. Vavane we are at Femin Gerrit Vachan, Gerrit Vishot and Mijinabis Krishman Yava Vispedeva is 9, Zezevan Gauchim is Devan Gauchus Ravahim, Urinated and Devan Gafrina, Miregim, Javashta, Javavanginara, Shonam, Arjan Garij Verestavari, Zamvashtem, Shonam, Rajan Gimbispor Katrim, Atajam Yani Tafrina Min, Umatanam, Huptanam, Uberishtanam, Yadachin, Yadacharizim and Hamchem. Vaver is an Amchamay Bizaritaro, Nainestari, Tanavo Nam Mahim. Umatana Muktanam Uvarashtanam Yadachinida Chaveris Imanam Chavaveris and Nam Chamay Bizaritaro, Nine Estaro, Yatanai, Bahunai Mahim. Yatahu very Atara, the Shaji, the Chavan Gavish is Damaning Go Shot and Nam Gavish Misdine, Shatrim Chavrayan, Rig of the order that was Tarim. Hashem Bovish, the Steam Star, Steve Stam, Mayet, Shaivish, Hashem. Yatahu very Atara, the Shaji, the Chime, Mongavish is Damaning Go Shot and Nam Gavish Misdine, Shatrim Chavrayan, the Rig of the order that was Tarim. Yatahu very Atara, the Shaji, the Chavan Gavish is Damaning Go Shot and Nam Gavish Misdine, Shatrim Chavrayan, the Rig of the order that was Tarim. Yes, name Chavam, name charges says a very chafri namin. Ahurim is Daurevato, Karinangato, Shimbo, Vaishtamastin, Ushtastin, Stam, Maya, the Shai, Vishtai, Shim. Atta Jamir, Tafri Nami, Matana, Muktana, Muverashtanami, the Chimida, Chavidizim and Amcha, Vavidis and Amcha, Maya, Bizaritaro, Nestaro, Yatanai, Bahunai, Mahim. Shows that push Keshpiros Gertal. Yatahu very Atara, the Shashi, the Chavan Gavish is Damaningo, Shatan and Naman Gavish Misdine, Shatrin Chavrayim, the Rig of Pure, the Vastarin, Yatahu very Atara, the Shashi, the Chavan Gavish is Damaningo, Shatan and Naman Gavish Misdine, Shatrin Chavrayim, the Rig of Pure, the Vastarin, Yatahu very Atara Tush, Ashachi, the Chavan Gavish is Damaningo, Shatan and Naman Gavish Misdine, Shatrin Chavrayim, the Rig of Pure, the Vastarin. Yatahu very Atara, the Shashi, the Chavan Gavish is Damaningo, Shatan and Naman Gavish Misdine, Shatrim Chavrayim, the Rig of Pure, the Vastarin, Yatahu very Atara Tush, Ashachi, the Chavan Gavish is Damaningo, Shatan and Naman Gavish Misdine, Shatrim Charayim, the Rig of Yoda Vastarim, Ashim Vovishtam, Steve Star, Maya the Shavishtai Shim, Ashim Vovishtam, Steve Star, Maya the Shavishtai Shim, Ashim Vovishtam, Steve Star, Maya the Shavishtai Shim. Ravarani was the Nazartish video over the Kisho, Havanishon, Shiratrim, yes, night of my church not right of assisting nature. Savam gave his Yacha, Shavani, Shiratway, yes, night of my church not right of assisting nature. Saro Shane, she ain't that meta, no more trader, Shidaro, Shahudish, not right, night of my church not right of assisting nature. Yatahu Venio, Zota, Frami, Marute, and Tarutu, Shashachi, Hachafara, Shavavidva, Marutu. Saroshi Machine Rodin, very target in Faragate, Mashavani, Masharatam is my name. Yo per Yomas Dar Damain, Rasteratat by Tiberisman, Yazata Hurim is dying, Yazata Mishes Pentin, Yazata Pavishtar, Yavis Pavishtar Damain. Ahevaya Karinanga Changi Margaret Ragnacha, he is Nazata 9. 10 years I surun what I is Nasaroshi machines of 5 years, Shim Javangu him beres I think. Nairing Yasan Gamer, the March and Jamiatavan gave it to Jausaro Shashio. Saroshi machine is made, the comparison thing is made. Yimorim is down your shop and the Mayosh Mushtemo. Vispas of ours at Tushli is made, Vispacha Varishta is made name. Varishta Chavarishim Nacha Yingi Hatime. Audius Napai even Gomez Dogaving Kar Shadachayong Gamcher. Tas Chatawas Chai is made name. Saroshi machine Rodin, very target in Faragate, Mishavani Misharutum is made name. Yo Porio, Barisman, Akrastana, Shatischa, Panchayakshatischa, Haptayakshatischa, Navayakshatischa, Kshinascha, Maidia Paitishtanascha, Mishanas Pentanine. Yes, night, Chavam, my church, not my church, assisting a Chaviria, Kainanga, Champion Margaret, Nacha. Ahayas Nizatanam, the Mizaisurun, what by Yasna, Saroshi, machines out 5 years. Hashim Chavam Gimberes, I think, hiding just some game of the March and Nujam Hatavan gave it to Jasarusha Shio. Saroshi machine is made, and Beres and thing is made, Morim is done. Yosha, one of the Moyosh, Mushtam, Vispas of the Tushli is made in. Vispacha Varishta Shotna is made, Varishta Varishim Nachan. Yengi Hatamadis, Napaiti Vangam is down of a Kasha, Chayong Gancha, Tas Chataos Chai is made in. Saroshi machine were all in with Fajan Faragate, Mishavani, Misharatam is made in. Yo Porio Gatao, Presveria, Yapan, Chespita, Mahir Shon, Zertushtrahim. Apasamani van Vachashti, like Mata Zankish, Matpaiti Prasal. A mention of Spentanam is night, Jevon, my church, not right, persisting in child. A Helia, Karinanga, Changema, Ragnacha, is Nazakan. Thing is, I shouldn't want is Nasarushi machines of 5 years, Javon Gimber, as I can in the Sangim. Urode Machanujimia, the Bangaver, Kajal Saroshio. Saroshi machine is made, the medicine, them is made, the Yomorim is done. Yo Shapono de Moyo, Jadmushtam of his Pasavaz of Fish is made. Vispacha Varishta Shotana is made, Varishta Varishim Nacha Yengi Hatime. Audius never even comes down in Kanshara Chayongam Jadasadas is made. Hashim Vovishtam Steam Star, Steve Star, Maya the Shavarishtai Shim. Hashim Vovishtam Steam Star, Steve Star, Maya the Shavarishtai Shim. Hashim Vovishtam Steam Star, Maya the Shavarishtai Shim. Gatapinam, we should turn and go fight you for a member of the Tavrashtai. Shatrim Jabaiti asking to the Rego Shatrim Shatrim, the Rego Jitim, Shatatim, Tanubium. Amemutak, Timurad, and Muratab, Muratam, and anything Jabatat in Paulus, Faction, the Bishan time. Vaiti Jetim, Dishman, and Martin, the American, and another Bishan time. After Nami Bavan Bavan, and Station, the Vistam, or within the Bishan thing. Vispema game the Bishan thing. Aratviaman and game, Aratvachan, game, Aratvia shot, and in Bavan, and Biratram, and Garatvacha, and Garatva shot, and then. Vijanebe Visperushman, Yava, Vispedeva Yasnaim, Jazebe Vongauch, and Zavangauch, Rava here, Natural and Gavan Yafi Namin, the Regim Javauch, Tajavan Ginaram Shaunaim, Arjan Gurivere Stavari, Zamba Hishtemon Shaunam, Roch and Gim Vispo Katrin, a Terrajam Yerit Hafi Namin, a Shimbo Vishtem, Steve Star, Maya the Shavish Taishim. Umatanam, Tanam, Vereshtanam, Legend, the Chavism, and Nam Chavavism, Nam Chen, Maya Bizaritar, name is Star, Yitanavo Nam Mahim. Umatanam, Tanam, Vereshtanam, the Chavism, and Nam Chen, Vaviris and Nam Chen, Maya Bizaritar, name is Star, Yitanavo Nam Mahim. Yatahu very hard to Jashan, the Chavan gave, which is dominating go. Shatan and Naimon gave, which was die Shatrin Chow, Rayakim, the Rig of Yoda, the Vastarim. A Shimbo, which them Steve Star, my year to Shivish, Shim. Yatahu very hard to Jashan, the Chavan gave, which is dominating go. Shatan and Naimon gave, which was dying. Shatrin Chow, Rayakim, the Rig of Yoda, the Vastarim. Yatha Vedi Matadu Vijashadi the Chavum Devish is Damaning Shatan Ham Devish Misdime. Shatrim Chavarayam the Leg of Yoder Vastarim. Yasnim Chavam Min charges as a very chafri namin. Saroshe Yashin Dakmetanu Matre the Shidaro Shaburie. Ashim Vahu Vahishti Masti Ushta Mai Yet a Shai Vishtaishin. Muzur Mokshu. Atha Jamya Yatha Frinamin, Umatanaim, Huktanaim, Varashtanam, Yadachan Yadacha, Verizim and Nam Chai, Vaviris and Nam Chamay, Bizaritaro, Nainestaro, Yathanaim, Vahunaim, Mahim. Hamazor Bai, Hamazor Hamasho Bai. Hamazor Hamanikin Bad, Hamazor Hamakari Bai, Hamazor Vishkirpin Bad, Hamazor Kanguna Bai, Hamazor Bai, Zartushta Din Rastia Buktar Bai, Dine Mazda Yasnain Hakikat Durasta Bai, Hamazor Bai, Dadai Rahure Mazda Rayo Men Karim and Hamazor Bai, Meshas Pendain, Hamazor Bai. Koredine Vavi Ze Mazda Yasnain, Hamazur Bai, Adarain Atashain Adar Bushas Pada, Kodara Buzin Head, Atash Virajas Savangi, Atash Vahu Priyain, Atash Urvazish, Tatash Vazish, Tatas Penish Vatash Miriosan, Hamazur Bai, Panjagahi Pravarani Yanda Shaban Rose Kesipari Vishar Hastain, Havengar Pitwin Gauzidin Gai Vishatrem Gavu Shahin Gai. Hamazur Bai, Shashagai, Gambaranda Sahal, Maidio Zaringa, Maidio Shinga, Paintishem Gayatringa, Maidia Varinga, Vahamas Patmaidim Gaim, Hamazur Bai, Panja Gai, Gatai, Yender Panja Mehim, Ahuna Vadaga, Ushta Vadaga, Spenta Madaga, Vahukshatraga, Vahishta Gaim, Hamazur Bai, Deanian Jumananza, Tushtrian, Vedinan, Vapabdinan, Aftakeshva Zamin. Kupa dad vedine poeda kishniya, Kupa vinze vedine mazdan yasnain stovan hen. Ishanava iman, Emanava Ishanamam Karvaham Kefe Mazur Bain, Ham Yazashneva Ham Baenia Yashneva Ham Yarhom, Hamazur Bain. Ardain Fravash Pirosgar Kiral Yazashne Karde Hom, Darun Yashtom Yazdamarai Naim Payo Karde Yapagan Zidada Huramazdaim. Rayo men kari mindavami shaspendain veresain. Paed dehishne raini darain, rakshasne vakshasne estashne vapatayishne bahain. Yazdani minawan yazdani geti anmain yoruzgal. Travash showain yazgayo medenda sidman kurkori socios. Hastani budam bedain zadani zadana deus dedam in an hari kavernai purnain. Harkiya Varin Zamin Peri Verini Gudarain Shudhastaim Hamain Pravesha Showain Ravani Shani Dariyan Bahain Oj Vazo Niru Tadiyamavandi Firuz Gariyamai Pravesha Showan Beresain Naim Chishtin Flavash Ravain Anushri Ravain Ke Imruz Dodhastam Yazdabanami Atina Makpunam Avazani Hatar Beresain Ayafte Kaspar Home Berezin begani keurai dadai rahurai mazda berni destain Asho bedezin atha jamiai yatha afrin namin Paname dadai rahurai mazda afrin chun pishga kodai afrin Piain karda tobain Pairain sheher Manchester kaman jambitchun ahura mazda kodai Padamani kinch Farok vapashum tarbitchun ke khashru Kup mer betchen meheriye zed dushman zadar betchen zarir Podik betchen shavats bami betchen bizain Asho betchen vishtaspa shaha zarimin betchen samin rimain Auzavan var betchen duspan Nizevar betchen aspandya Dinyar va kundar betchen jamas pain bataz zishchain Aver vizan betchen adai pravesh Ride betchen tishtain charva betchen varain vina betchen kushin Vishkerfin bitchen Jarkospain Dezing Vashni bitchen Zaravan Pakshahain Baroman bitchen Aspandal mit Zamin Vespaiven bitchen Rodin Audal Vesambar bitchen Zamistein Khurram bitchin, Baharubai bitchin, Mushkavasi bitchin, Zar, Rava bitchin, Dirain, Kirdar bitchin, Ahura Mazda, Kodain, Padamani Kinch. Ina Freina Itanishmai Dun Bahai, Chun Mahai Bakurshin, Vau Batesh Vamai Vamarva Vamushkan Yasmingul, Marzang Goshin Yakaman Jumin Rao, Samasta Jumin Rai, Hazaro Sal Zindigani Maidaraz Bain. Ezain Buyegain Kushmastesh Kunai Pakizashni Vapaksam Parain, Ambari Vazne Kushvini Hai. Narasho Farzan Zanyain Kirain Darain Name Barain Dushman Zanain Vadirafruzain Vadarul Atha Jamiain Yatha Afrin Amin Hamazur by Lauramazda Kodain Grizin Karin Zanyain Ava Sedai Dispasham Kihamkaran Jeshnam Yapazanishnim Gajaste Ganami Noike Dravandavar Vispadi Vadaruj Pazadarishni Damani Auramizda Prasa Karnin Hamazur Bawi Bammanamisha Spin Grizin Kari Avazanyain Ava Mahadushram Kiham Karan Jeshnam Yapazanishni Aishme Kravin Darush Druze Kumain Druze Taromaitin Hamazur Bawi Ardi Beshtamisha Spin Grizin Kari Avazanyain Avadarain Sarosh Beraim Keham Karan Jeshniam Yarpazanashne Druje Zamistain CJ Aposh CJ Spansgair Amazur Bahai Sherevalamishas Pinguzin Koreava Zayain Ava Kur Meher Asman Niran Keham Karan Jeshniam Yarpazanashne Bushyan Spediren Gabdrujas Gani Drujasan Nasin Drun Amazur Bain, Aspendar Madame Shaspin Gurzi, Koreava Zanyain, Ava Avani Arda Maris Penki Hamkaran Jeshnam Yapazanashne, Ashtava Dushahim, Amazur Bahai, Kurdarame Shaspin Gurzi, Koreava Zanyain, Ava Kishtar Govadar Dai Pravesh, Kihamkaran Jeshnam Yapazanashne Aze Divine, Dakarinch Vazarinch Ding, Amazur Bain, Amardadami Shaspin Gurze Koreava Zanyain Avarashne Ashtad Zamiyan Keham Karan Jeshnam Yapazanashne Tashni Paitare Pradum Vashur Arimain Faze Karnin Ava Zanya Dami Ahura Mazdai Vava Sinan Dami Arimain Amazur Bangirain Kuanashi Kari Purkari Aura Mazdadahain Avai Darain Vadaraktain Vakurashne Barain Vazarin Urvarain Hamazur Auravandako, Hamazur Ravandeko, Hamazur Meparsindeko, Hamazur Demavandako, Kedravanda Vivaras Pandavasti, Stedamazur Gariush Dashtahai, Ashini Kari, Purkari, Ogamas Datahai, Hamazur Chashmagain, Bunani Avain Rudain, Hamazur Auravandero, Hamazur Vidru, Hamazur Tagru, Hamazur Zare Valkash, Hamazur Zare Fakar, Hamazur Zare Poitin, Hamazur Zarki Hasin, Hamazur Avani Burzin Kavatain Avatum, Parasti Vavehi Vavazindari Din Vazavadadaskain Vazabundahin, Hamazur Dadayuvada Shan Shamazur Vazurda Famadain, Hamazur Aptakishvar Zaminareze Save Kagadash Vidadash Varum Barish Varu Zaresh Kanara Sabami Pamiane Zadain, Faroktum Ashotum Pashum Yashtin Yazdain, Zartushta Spita Manasho Paruhai Amazurat Kornan Sipavat Fidos Garadaran Shatagin died Adel Parain Amazurat Kishtarain Sipavat Tadin Daran Yafin Adel Gushas Pain Amazur Fidos Garvastrain Shine Sipavat Kodain Kirfigal Adel Burzin Fidos Gael Anushe Ravain Bahai Ravani Radain Dastu Rain, Mobedain, Hervedain, Vedinain, Chashni, Darain, Havistein, Kevar Pain, Zamine, Tanomin, Bevadad, Hinanushe, Ravain Bai, Ravani, Gayomed, Vahushan, Vatemuraspa, Vajamshin, Vafaredun, Vaminocher, Bami, Vahuzobai, Timas Pain, Kaiko Bai, Kain Kaus, Kain Shiavets, Kain Kushru, Kain Loras, Kain Vishtas, Bamanas Pendiarain, Anushe, Ravain Bai, Ravani Jartosta Spita Main Shofaro Hail Avai Mankol Nine Ratish Tarain Vastrin Shine Tok Shine Dammain ke paimyazda frajrasindahen, ezimyazda berameden, Nikia Zanien Ramashmi Vashadi Vapadgani Vanikia Jesuya Nimrozandaranyai Dardava Vimari Vadushkari Vanaki Vastaki Harvespepatyan Ajesi Vaktar Bedwarai Vihan Patsha Ben Vatarana Shan Ben Eskarde Kunashne Kishavaksha Pashiman Bedmai Mai Cherai Manashne Gavashne Kunashne Under Fraroni Ban Each Kazamian Padivigas Kardain, Kepertanayopa Kastain, Ayopa Ravanzian Bain. Kira Vishavayed Vishban, Kira Vyavayed Viban, Kira Zanavayed Zanban, Kira Farzindavayed Farzindbain, Getting Aiden Bachinkan Commander Ferraruniminai Aiden Bain, Chunravain Commander Shaheen Berisain. In Afrina Taneshumai, Vehani and Jumanine, Vedinine, Avazuni Hatter Pakambain, Ayafte Kastarom Berezindegani, Keorain Dadar Abura Mazda Berni Destain, Aremain Derwen, Azio Veverzi Nambanas Dishtain Yak Yak Set Pavazunbain, Ayafte Kastarom Kirain Avain Bain, Rasta Goffring Gain Bain, Dana Patsha Bain, Dushdana Vadashan Bain, Din Behemos Yasnain, Pahafta Kishva Zamin, Rava Ziain Bain, Au Kazashne, Urvarain Vakshasne, Jordayain, Panchamanashne, Mai Mahicharai, Manashne, Kunashne, Manashne, Gavashne, Kunashne, Rasta Fararun Bain, Kian Berenda Serpai Madain Rapa, Dahishne, Dahishtail, Taima Padishni Hatter, Bundi Hatter Yadbai, Ayopa Giti, Ayopa Mino Anushe Ravain Bain, Ravani Jatusta Spitamain, Asho Farohelm, Avai Maturnain, Ratish Tarain, Vastranya Shine, Hutok Shine, Dammain, Kipain Miasdain, Faraj Rasindahen, Ezin Miasdai Birameden Birgerafen, Hargami Rahazalda Vista Gahain, Beheshta Rushin Garusmani Bepadi Rain, Pafaraz Ahmeden, Kirfe Biavazayai, Pavaz Shuden Gunayo Buddha Bishavai, Vagiti Nikbai, Dwamino Vibai, Sarfrezain, Mashahi Biavazayai, Ravain Garosmani Bahai, Ravain Garosmani Bahai, Ravani Beheshta Roshan Garosmani Bahai, Ashobed Derzi Yata Jamyai, Yata Frinamin, Humatanaim, Huktanaim, Huvarashkanaim, Yadachan Yadacha Verizim Nanaim Chai, Vaverizanaim Chamay Bizaretaro, Nainestaro Yatanaim, Vahunaim Mahim. Shimbo Ishtam Skim Shasti Sham Maya the Shai Vishtam Shim, Zangarim decision by the decision, Zangarim decision by the decision, Zangarim decision by the decision, Shimbo Ishtam Skim Shasti Sham Maya the Shai Vishtam Shim, the Samyavan Games, Rajasam Yavan Games, Rajasam Yavan Games, them, Amiltash Deva, David Tag, Nodaka, and Yasha, Ramana Kastravi, Yashikara, David Raka, Yashnaman, I that Deva yet, Stiskan Tamin, Yam Kavash, and Kadaki, Ravani, Nizavani, him. Shim Bo Vishtam Skim Shtasli Shtam Maya the Shai Vishtai Shim, Efim was Daganagazarish Narakanam Shadavine, Dusham Raham Kefim Avian Yaftakishwar Zamin Zabil Penam, Rudrana Koshit Balabundi Aberesai, Ashobid Zin Prajam Yalikafina, Hashim Babu Vaishtim Mastim Shastim, Ushtam Manyat Shine Vaishtam Machine. Banami Kudaun, Banami Yazain, Bakshayan Dain, Bakshayan Yazgar, Meherban. Yazdain Panaba, Lejo Shadban, Yatahu Venya, Taratu, Shashanchi Hachain, Mungevush, Lesdamaningo, Shatan and I, Mungevush Mazdain, Shatrin Chahu, Rayayin, Rebipio, Red Vastarin, Yatahu Venya, Taratu, Shashanchi Hachain, Mungevush, Lesdamaningo, Shatan and I, Mungevush Mazdain, Shatrim Chaurayim, the Regapio, the Vastarim. Thunderustin, Daisy Vashni, Avani, Korin, Gadashinda, Yazdanin, Nohan, Yazdanin, Yetiain, Haftami, Shaspendain, Yazdarushan, Hame, Beresain. Indo Yabadin, Koya, Badami, and like a sign riser, Kushtadin, Shadbai. Aidun Bal, Yabari, Kudavande, Alamrai, Amai, Anjumin Rao. Samastan Jumin Rao. Bafaz in Dain, Hazaru, Sahal, Dir Bedai. Shad Bedai, Tandarustain Bedare, Bedai. Barsare Zania, Salahi, Bishiyar, Vakarnahi, Bishumar. Baki Vapayan, Bedahai. Sal Hazara and Hazara Clean by. Sal Kujastain by. Rose Farok by. Ma Mubarak by. Navruz Mubarak by. Chandan Sal, Chandan Rose, Chandan Mahai. Bisyar Salarzani Dari Zashne, Vanya Yashne, Varadi Vazur Barashne, Ashaidara Varia Makaro Kelpin High, Thunderusni Boy, Niki Bad Kubba Aidun Boy, Aidun Taras Boy, Payazdan Vami Shaspan Dain Kami Bain, Dhain Vine, Putra Vine, Ayushya Vine, Lakshmi Vine, Vruddhi Vine, Vidya Vine, Vijay Vine, Roji Vine, Charitra Vine, Shukranain Dadar Yak Din Yak Beshak Begumane Pak Din Mazdan Yasni Zarathustra Spitamain Ashoni Ashim Vahu Vahishte Masti Ushtasti Ushtamai Yatashai Vahishtai Ashim. Shall we recite the Hambanda Git together? Shnatra Remazal, Hashim Vahu, Vahishte Masti, Ushtasti, Ushtamai, Yatishai, Vahishtai, Hashim, Yatahu Vedyo, Ataretu, Shashai, Shri Hachai, Vangevush, Dazamaningo, Shotananai, Mungevush Mazdai, Shatlin Chai, Ahurai, Ayim, Darigupyo, Dade Vaskarim, Yatahu Vedyo, Ataretu, Shashai, Shri Hachai, Vangevush, Dazamaningo, Shotananai, Angevush Mazdai, Shatlin Chai, Ahurai, Ayim, Darigupyo, Dade Vaskarim, Hashim Vahu, Vahishte Masti, Ushtasti, Ushtamai, Yatashai, Vahishtai, Hashim. Thank you. Please be seated. So very good afternoon to all of you ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being such a wonderful audience for this Jashan ceremony performed here today. Just as always, I'll give a very brief explanation of the ceremony, which I'm trying to get you guys to almost memorize by now so that we stop having to have these explanations. And very soon I might be just having a PowerPoint presentation running in the background with a little bit more detail of the actual running translations of some of the prayers, so that you can enjoy the meaning of the prayers just as I do sometimes when I'm kind of reciting the prayers and having a rough translation of or a summary in my head while reciting the prayers. So stay tuned for that hopefully very soon. But just as always, today we performed a Kushalinu Jashan, or a Jashan for a happy occasion, of course, celebrating the Iranian harvest festival, or the new year of Nowruz. And I know it is a little late in the year for that, and it was my apologies for that actually. But I'll just give a short explanation and give you a little bit of the reason why this happened. But The Jashan ceremony itself comes from the Avestan word Ijashne, which means to praise or to worship. Now, while most of the ceremony is recited in the ancient Iranian language of Avestan, there are some paragraphs recited in the more modern Iranian languages of Persian, and also we recite one tiny little paragraph at the end in Sanskrit as well, because when the Parsis migrated from Iran to India, they translated and transliterated some of their prayers into the local language for the benefit of the local people. The Jashan ceremony is mainly a ceremonial enaction of the creation story, where all the 7 creations that are around us in our universe are represented by the various items placed within the ceremony. But most importantly, Zarathustra, the founder of Zoroastrianism, our prophet, mentioned in his message of the Gathas that each of these 7 creations have one good quality that every good human being must strive to obtain in his or her daily life. So, for example, the creation of man represents spentamenu, or the good positive mentality, and teaches us to use good thoughts in everything that we do and every work that we start, using our good spirit or good positive mentality or good positive attitude. Vahumana represented the animal kingdom, and inside the Jashan ceremony is represented by the milk of the cattle, or also the sweet dish that is prepared with the milk of the cattle as well, and represents Vahumana, or the good mind, and teaches us to use wisdom in accordance with righteousness, or Ardibesh Tameshaspan, which is represented by the fire. When we stay on this path, we get the good strength, represented by the mineral kingdom, by all the metallic items placed in the Jashan ceremony. Strength that should be used for constructive purposes and never for destructive purposes. This leads us on a path of devotion, represented by the earth, and inside the Jashan ceremony by the floor on which the Jashan ceremony is performed. Staying on this path gives us perfection or wholeness, as represented by the ever-cleansing waters. And finally, we lead on to a path of immortality, not of the physical body, but of the goodness that we leave behind on this earth after we pass away as well, and that immortality is represented by the evergreen plant and plant kingdom, represented by the fruits and flowers in the Jashan ceremony. So like this, the doctrine of the Amesha Spenters, or the bounteous immortals, teaches us to live on this path and use this practical philosophy in all our day-to-day dealings and in our day-to-day life. So to begin with, the Jashan ceremony is first the Jashan ceremony comprises of the Atish Niniash, or the litany to the fire. The Aryans always considered fire as the best form and representation of energy, and needed it coming from the cold central steppes in today's time Russia. And therefore, being a nomadic tribe, wherever we went, we created fire first for the purposes of warmth, heat, cooking, etc., so on and so forth, for which you today use your heating and microwave ovens in your houses. But generally, a fire would ever be burning in the house of any Aryan at that time. And that's why the kind of worship of fire eventually became a little bit of a thing towards the times of the kings and so on and so forth. But it is something that we always pray facing towards, or Zoroastrians always pray facing a source of energy, and that's why we pray facing the light in the night, or so on and so forth, or we pray facing the sun. The Jashan ceremony is now comprised of 2 parts, the first being a part of blessings, the second being a part of litanies. And in theory, there could be as many blessings as we want, but today we perform 2 blessings. The first blessing dedicated to the Lord of Wisdom, or Infinite and Supreme Wisdom, as Zarathustra called it, Ahura Mazda himself. And the second blessing was dedicated to Saroshyazad. Saroshyazad in a way translates to our guardian angel that guides us when the soul is in the mortal coil, and even guides the soul after we have passed away. But in a way, it is our conscience that is strengthened through prayer. And just as your conscience keeps you on the right path, that is why we pray to Sarosh, or we pray to strengthen our conscience, to help us avoid any stupid decisions in our life, thereby bringing any adversity or unhappiness to ourselves. And the second part of the Jashan ceremony is a ceremony of litanies, or we say prayers in praise of different things, which are litanies. or they are called offerings. What do we praise? We praise all the righteous people of the past, all the kings, the prophet himself, and all the other people. But not only do we praise them, but we say that just as those people had good qualities of righteousness, strength, wisdom, so on and so forth, may we imbibe those qualities from them, and may, just as we prospered in Iran, may we prosper in the local city of Manchester or wherever the Jashan is performed. And then one of the offerings or litanies is in praise of all the 7 creations and their helpers, or basically all the 7 good qualities that I mentioned previously. Finally, the Jashan ceremony ends with the recital of the Tandurusti prayer in the more modern language of Parsi, which is as follows. To perform any righteous task, good health is absolutely essential. So we pray for the Tandurusti, Tan meaning body, Durusti meaning health, or for the health and well-being and happiness of the body. O Aura Mazda, may the ruler of the land, all the citizens of this country, and especially the people mentioned by names and the people witnessing the ceremony live for 1,000 years, full of joy and health. May the day be auspicious, the month memorable, and the year very fruitful. And then finally, the last paragraph in Sanskrit says, may you be blessed with physical health, physical wealth, and physical success. Children blessed with innate wisdom, and finally, a good character. And we thank Zarathustra for spreading this wonderful philosophy of Zoroastrianism as a wonderful way of life for everyone to follow. So after the Jashan ceremony, everyone can partake of the different items placed, especially the fruits, the sweet meat or the malido, which is my favorite part of the ceremony, and then enjoy the festivities afterwards. But of course, in today's Jashan ceremony, we also remembered, including all the kings and including the prophet, we also remembered some very near and dear relatives of ours who passed away recently and who are very close, not only to this organization over here, but to the entire community within the UK. So we also, of course, remembered them. But once again, the Jashan ceremony can undoubtedly change the entire atmosphere of our surroundings, not only by the vibrations created by these ancient prayers, but also by the physical and practical symbolic significance it holds in our day-to-day life. So Atha Jamya Yatha Afrinami, as in may it be so, even as we pray. Thank you. Just before I end, I would just like to quickly say that my apologies. I requested, was in talking to the NWZC about a wonderful opportunity that I got to go to Houston in Texas, where they opened the first ever 24/7 wood-burning Atash Kadeh, or fire, and they invited me and sponsored my trip to be part of the inauguration ceremonies, including the all-night Vandidat ceremony, as well as the inaugural Jashan. And because it was such a wonderful opportunity, I spoke to the NWZC, who very kindly requested that the Jashan be moved to this day so that they can accommodate my little trip. And I could just say that the trip was absolutely fantastic. The Atash Kadeh opening, I'm sure some of you must have already seen on YouTube being telecasted live, and it is a wonderful path-breaking way of leading the community in the right way. So the Americans are doing a great job in slowly uniting themselves together in spite of the differences within their local communities, and it's something that all the communities around the globe should take that message of unity forward, because I think we are very few in numbers, but we need to keep this unity within our communities all across the globe. So once again, thank you very much for you kindly inviting me year after year. This is my 9th year in the UK, and time has flown by thanks to your love and generosity.